We talked a lot about data tonight, and Ms. Lounsbury, in your testimony, you noted that China wants to seek additional control over global logistics, including over U.S. supply chains. This has been an interest of mine. I've done a fair amount of work in this area in the last couple of years, and in fact, Ms. Steele and I just this week were able to get into the annual defense bill that we're all voting on this week, a provision that would make it impermissible for American ports to use LOGINK. For those of you who don't know what LOGINK is, you really need to get a load of this. I mean, this is a logistics tracking software system that has been developed over the course of the last 10 years by the CCP so that they can coerce ports and logistics providers to gather data. Now, of course, once that data is all gathered, just like we've been talking about tonight, in other industries, that information could be provided to the CCP and provide quite an asymmetry, really injure American competitiveness. And so, Ms. Lounsbury, tell us a little bit more about this threat.
Well, I think the original threat starts with the One Belt, One Road initiative, and that was a more kinetic, let's find out ways through the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to fund the channels between China direct to Germany and back to China. Now the LOGINK, concept is to take that and create a digital structure. So, the business model is quite brilliant, actually, but it is actually a big concern because offering something for free is never for free. So signing companies up, ports, logistic carriers, shipping companies, is one thing, but then turning around and taking the data is another. So,
and think about how valuable this data is. It's an almost breathtaking suite of the types of freight, how much, the location within the system. I mean, this is the holy grail of data.
Right, so my question back to the committee would be, what is the alternative? Because I think companies are interested in that concept. It's just fraught with risk for the shipping companies globally, not just American. But in reality, 6 degrees of separation, anything to do with any of the shipments are going to touch America.
So you'd say it's all good and well, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Steele, for American ports to be prohibited from using LOGINK, and again, thanks to our legislation, they will be, but they need an alternative. Am I saying that right?
Yes, and I think that's a creative problem to solve, and I think it's possible.
Should the Biden administration's FLOW initiative deal with this in any way?
I do believe so, yes. And I think there are, obviously ports are considering this. I talked to one of the largest shipping companies in the world just a few days ago, and sure enough, they're watching carefully. They're maybe signing up to look under the hood of LOGINK, but they have not agreed to disclose the same type of data that is intended or desired, and that we are witnessing in other markets.
So, Mr. Kazi, you've told us time and time again tonight that we should be highly skeptical of data that comes from the Chinese Communist Party, or really from any of their partners. So the Shanghai Shipping Exchange is a major international freight shipping exchange. Of course, it's state-owned, as so many major institutions and entities in China are. It is the basis for a lot of indexes. And increasingly, in fact, I want to make sure I get this right. The Shanghai Containerized Freight Index is used by all kinds of market participants to figure out what freight rates will be. Now, I know this is not an area of your expertise, but give us, should we be trusting of these indexes at all?
No single index should be just believed as being, the word of God. So we need other data to verify. We need to have it cross-checked, even if we are using it. And that one, I see it all the time.
Well, and that seems like a good rule of thumb. Don't ever put all of your eggs in one basket. But I guess I'm asking the question, should these Shanghai Shipping Exchange indexes be in the basket at all? Should they even be among a number of data points that somebody would use to make decisions?
Number one, not without verifying it as much as possible. And if there's repeated signs that there's, data that's been fudged or manipulated, kick it out.
Well, the good news is that we've got a solution for that too. The Ocean Shipping Reform Act 2.0 or Implementation Act does address this issue that you and I are talking about, sir. And I would just reiterate what some of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle have said tonight. We do need to be aware of the serious coercive economic pressure that China is applying to companies in this country and around the globe. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.